So, what challenge in your career are you the most proud of working through?
From a project standpoint, it was a project challenge. So, working with when I was at Siemens, there was a new diagnostics platform that they were developing. It was like 10 years in the making, and it was going to replace a bunch of their other instruments. And it was a secret project. Everybody was under NDA, and I was brought in about a year or two before it was going public. And really great, platform and great opportunity. They came to me to start designing materials. What's our strategy going to be around the creative? What's it going to look like? We need photography, we need video. What's a brochure going to look like? We're going to launch it at an event. How do we plan for that? The challenge was there was no product. It wasn't finalized yet. It wasn't a production developed piece where I could go to a warehouse or a manufacturing plant and take photos and take video of it. They were still working on the design of it, the guts of it, the workings of it. So I had to create materials out of nothing, basically. But what I was lucky enough to do was talk to the engineers who were creating the products, and they were able to provide the engineering drawings. And what I wound up doing was finding an agency that does high-end CGI, provided them the drawings, and they were able to create 3D CGI of the products in physical lab spaces, because these were lab and hospital, environments. And we created imagery at different angles. We created animations of the pieces. And then even because we had the total engineering drawings of the insides, we were able to create sort of CGI of what a test tube, which is what this does. It's testing blood and urine, and it's going through the instrument. So we're able to create sort of its own image library before the product ever hit the market. And that enabled us to create materials, advertisements, plan for the trade show, and a host of other things, PowerPoints and so on, so that the sales teams and marketing teams could start marketing to existing and new clients without having a piece to show. So it gave them that sort of pre-sale and pre-demo opportunity. So it took about a year and a half and a pretty big budget to develop all those materials for, day one launch date of when everything was going to be ready.
So, you had another experience that you were going to share.
I think the other challenge that I've probably had in my career was sort of a moving on challenge, where while I was at Siemens, and I was there for about 12 years total, 3 years as a contractor, and then about 8 or 9 years as manager of the creative team, was my decision to leave. And it was probably one of the hardest decisions in my career because I've been a long, long time at one place. People were my family there. It's not just a working environment. You're talking about people's vacations. You're going to baby namings and weddings and, dealing with the death of family members and that. So that was a really hard decision. But at that point where I was in my career and kind of with some organizational change and where I was going to then be as sort of a leader under new management above me, I just decided it was time to kind of move on and move up and take the next step in my career to get kind of a bigger job, higher level title, and so on, bigger team. So I went for it,
That's awesome. Sounds
and it
like
was great experience. I moved on from Siemens, and I went to Optum Health, which is under United Health Group, and was going great until COVID hit and like the bubble burst. Everybody got hit there and layoffs. So
yeah.
that was kind of a challenge where did I make the right decision leaving Siemens because I would have still had a job, but wouldn't have maybe moved on in my career versus take the chance and, be where I am today.
I think it's really hard to make a decision like that when you care about the group of people as much as
Mm,
you did. I think that that's incredibly difficult, and I don't think that people talk about that enough.
sure.
Um, so I think it's a very brave thing to do. And, like you said, then COVID hit and things got challenging, and you're like, well, did I make the right decision? But, ultimately, I guess, you have to decide if it's worth the risk or not. And I think that's what's hard about it. You say to yourself, okay, I'm willing to leave this group of people that I really care about for this huge risk. And so yeah, so I think that is really hard. I think it's also very necessary to growth too, as a professional and a human being. So um is there so we're talking about challenges. Is there any advice that you would give to somebody who maybe is experiencing some challenges, especially if they're maybe like in the first decade or so of their work?
Yeah, I think if you're early on in your career, it's so different than when I started, right? The design is different, the work environment is different, salaries and everything else is so different. There's much more um, change going on in the workplace. People aren't necessarily staying at jobs for 10 or 15 years like I had. It's shorter. The one thing I would say is don't jump around. Try and stay at a place for at least 2 to 3 years. One, to get that experience and learn about the company. You may feel like you're not going to get anywhere, but you got to give it a chance. And then two, from a professional side, people who jump around are also sometimes looked at as jumpers, and they're not going to stay at a job. And companies don't necessarily want to invest in people, train them, and have them become, knowledge experts at their business, their product, if they're just going to get up and leave after a while. So I think that's important. And even with all of the advantages of digital, marketing today and what you can do design wise, try and sort of learn from higher level leaders, people with more of that experience, like myself, like yourself, who have been doing this for a number of years, where we did learn kind of the old way and we came up. Take our advice, take that, chance to learn from us as well.
So for someone who's experiencing self-doubt or imposter syndrome, say that they want to step into leadership, or they want to pursue a certain aspect of design or any creative field, um, and they're feeling like they can't do that, or maybe they don't
Mhm.
have what it takes to succeed, what would you tell them? What advice would you give?
I felt that when I jumped from being a designer to my first management job. I did not know if I could do it. I regretted making the decision of accepting the job for like that split second of, oh my God, what did I do? But to go to go into something new and grow, you're always going to be challenged. And you also have to look at it from the other side. If you're interviewing for a job that is a step above and you don't think you can do it, but you've got the interview, you've made it through a few rounds, they're seeing something in you. And that I think is what gave me the power, I guess, to make that decision, that the people I was interviewing with saw it in my background, in my personality, that I was going to be a good fit. You have to take the chance or you won't. You might be stuck in the same place, for years and years. And maybe that's okay. I know people who are designers and they've been designers for their career and they love it. And that's what they want to do. And they don't necessarily aspire to being in a higher role or management or whatever. And that's fine. But if you feel it and you believe that you want to try it someday, then take that chance and take the opportunity.
Hmm. That's great advice. Well, thank you so much, Mark. This has been a fantastic conversation.
Thank you.
I think that you've had some great advice for everybody, and I know I've really enjoyed hearing your stories. So yeah, it's
Thanks.
been great.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.